you're doing so much. It's like
Okay,
hey, ask Hyundai. They're doing a lot.
we're going to start. If you have any friends in the lobby, please invite them back in. I just want to, again, thank you guys all for coming, because we can't have panels without our amazing audience as well, so thank you guys for coming this morning as well. We're going to go on our next journey here. It's digital art and corporations. It's a shift in cultural investment and company patronage. So you're going to hear this word patronage. We're going to be talking about new terms, new technologies, and the way that artists, creatives, and the collector, the corporations, the patron, how all these things are working together. And there's going to be some really amazing insights that we're going to get from this panel as well. I'd love to introduce our moderator, Sofia, Lekka, Angelopoulou. Okay, amazing. My name's difficult too, so I appreciate that. She's the editor-in-chief of designboom, so definitely check out. Designboom has an amazing feed on socials. I saw a beautiful one you guys did with the art meta as well. Really informative and really insightful. So thank you for that, Sofia. She's the editor-in-chief, as I said, and as I said, it's also the first, I didn't say this, but it's the first online cultural magazine. It was established in 1999, and I think that's a really important fact too, that they were doing really amazing things in 1999 as well. It publishes the latest news, projects, and key issues in art, architecture, design, and technology, with a focus on topics that enrich dialogue between creative professionals, industry, and society. So anyways, you have an amazing panel here, and Sofia as your moderator, and we'll see you shortly.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's panel. I'm happy to introduce our speakers today. DooEun Choi, Vice President and Art Director of Hyundai Motor, Professor Dr. Thomas Girst, Head of Global Engagement at BMW Group, Ulrich Schrauth, Artistic Director for the new UBS Digital Art Museum, and Milko Hensel, Team Head of Tech Banking at Maerki, Baumann and Co. So we are here to explore how private companies and financial institutions are engaging with new media through commissioning, collecting, and creating, and how these forms of engagement are evolving and changing with time. And I would like to start off with a very basic question for conceptual grounding within today's discussion. So when we talk about companies and institutions engaging with new media and technology, what does that mean exactly within your fields of work?
I was asked to answer as the first speaker. So I hope our panel could be more lively than serious. When you talk about corporate culture, right? It might be get a little bit serious than lively. So, and I'm so glad to be here to introduce some of our project. For the digital art, we are not only working on digital art, but we have focused on digital art past 10 years. So we regarded the digital art as a laboratory for experimenting with the sort of experience and aesthetics that can emerge from combining artistic practices and technological advance, scientific knowledge, and also historical narratives in order to serve as a platform for the active discourse. We have supported Art and Technology Laboratory in partnership with Lekka in LA since 2014, as well as Bloomberg Media's Art and Technology film series, which lasted for 6 seasons from 2018 to 2024. I'm not sure whether you had chance to encounter those films, but if not, it will be very interesting for you to see with the in mind, what is the contemporary issues in art and technology. We also organized open calls for emerging artists and curators engaged with art and technology, as well as our own art initiatives, such as Art Lab Digital Commissions for the Hyundai Art Lab Digital platforms. So for the VHL World, one of our open call programs is actually currently on display at the House of Electronic Art through this Sunday. So if you have time, I encourage you to have that experience. The Bridge Award actually supports emerging media artists who engage with the context of Asia through commissions, online residencies, and also exhibitions in partnership with the global institutions such as House of Electronic Art during Art Basel. It was actually initiated in 2016. The Bridge Award evolved as a distinctive platform for exploring transcultural and transhistorical perspectives in the ever-changing landscape of Asia. I hope you have the opportunity to see the 6th BH Award exhibition by 5 finalists who are pushing the boundaries of audiovisual art in emerging contexts of Asia. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for your question, Sofia, and thank you, DooEun, for doing such great work on the side of Hyundai. I get a lot at BMW on my desk. I get 2,000 inquiries every year when it comes to digital art alone, and I can always say, just call Hyundai. Hyundai, they're doing a lot more. So it's like, thank you for being there and and doing such amazing work. I really have to say it. So. But Sofia, in your question, you say institutions and companies, and I think institutions have a whole different, responsibility when it comes to. We heard about that from Ryan. When it comes to collecting, when it comes to archiving, what is happening in the 21st century. When it comes to artists using the latest cutting-edge technologies, and we heard from philanthropy before. I don't believe there is such a thing on the side of companies. I mean, if we're like brutally honest, it's about the visibility, it's about the image, and it's about the reputation of the company. There is no philanthropy. So if anybody from companies talks about philanthropy or altruism, no. So, but the thing is with digital art, and that I think is great, and that's why many companies are also working and collaborating with artists, because co-creation has become so important. And of course, the visions of artists that we have been delving into with our artistic initiatives for over 50 years with hundreds of collaborations worldwide is that, of course, our engineers, our core business, we went from a car company to a mobility provider to a tech company. So we see ourselves as a tech company. We have so many more opportunities our engineers and designers have than artists would have in their studio, maybe with the exception of Refik that we heard so much about in the speech prior. But so the artists are as eager to work with our engineers and designers as the other way around. And if you look from it from a European perspective, in pre-Socratic times, there was only one word for achievements in the arts and achievements in technology, and that was techne. So you don't even have to invent, the relationship between art, technology, and companies. It was all there thousands of years ago. So we are working on the same forefront, and if we can engage with artists that come up with amazing works, from Chow Fei to Alex Israel, to creating the ultimate AI masterpiece, which we already did, working with many companies and artists like 7-8 years ago. It's just great if that comes together. Creating key visuals, not only to promote the visibility of the company, which I mentioned at the beginning, but also to do something for artists, which also need that visibility. And I don't mean they should remain critical. That's all I'm saying. Just because they're getting our budget doesn't mean they shouldn't question what it is that we're doing.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot to add to that. Maybe just to clarify a little bit my role also in the UBIS Digital Art Museum. I'm the artistic director for this. And obviously, we're not a corporate company, but our main sponsor is. And drawing on what you just said, obviously, no one is in just for the sake of supporting art. It is about visibility. But I feel that corporate environments look so much more closely how they invest the money and why they invest it. And what you just said, digital technology, digital artists are really pushing the forefront of engagement of how we interact with our environment, how we actually live at this moment in time. And this is something we really want to do at the Digital Art Museum. This is why we're so happy to have one of the sponsors who really give us so much artistic freedom and really support the cause that we have. And I think I'm going to talk a little more about that later.
Sounds good. Milko?
Sorry. Me as a representative of a bank is a little bit weird maybe in the beginning, because we are not a collector of digital art yet. We come rather from a different angle and say we are very much experienced during the last couple of years when in developing new technologies, supporting new technologies in both in the financial world but also beyond that. On the one side, and on the other side also making sure that we go back to the very roots of banking, which means taking care of valuable things on behalf of our clients. And that means not only gold and precious metals, but also art, and especially digital art, where we see that it is quite a shortcoming of understanding that there's a necessity to have these valuable things stored on a long-term basis in a secure way that gives relief to both collectors and artists to say, now I know it's safe. I don't have to take care of it by myself. There is another party that makes sure that that nothing can happen to this piece of art. And this is something that is where we started from. And now we're exploring this world here moving more and more closer to the collectors and the artists.
Thank you. You have also worked with more, let's say, traditional forms of art in your careers and have explored different angles. But entering the digital art space, has it posed any challenges for you in terms of making the shift to prioritizing, let's say, more digital art initiatives?
I mean, I can just start maybe because our museum obviously natively works in the digital sphere, and I'm a curator for digital and immersive art. So it's not that much of a shift, but looking at the challenges, the opportunities that you have in showcasing work, in collecting digital works, that is something that we're really trying to explore with this new museum. And I think there are a lot of possibilities, especially in audience engagement. This is something that's very dear to my heart and to my artistic practice. Really looking also at an angle, obviously, of curatorial expertise, but really looking from the audience. How do they interact, and how do audiences change their visitor behavior? What are they interested in? This is something with the US Digital Art Museum, which is an umbrella platform, basically, for different outcomes of the museum. The museum is going to open next year, 2026. You're all warmly invited, obviously. In Hamburg, we're currently building the museum. It's a 6,500 square new museum, 12-meter high ceiling. So we're really looking at how do you present digital art in the 21st century. And the major exhibition is going to be Teamlab Borderless. We bring that exhibition from Tokyo and other outposts. All of you are familiar with Teamlab's work, I'm sure. But in addition to that, and this is one of the long answer to your short question, we are also going to have different outposts to complement the art or the Teamlab works with new commissions, with changing exhibitions within a digital art hub. That's the working title at the moment. We're going to have 3 different exhibitions per year, have residencies, have commissions, do exchange with other institutions, and really showcase what digital art can be from a very experimental point of view, but also from a commercially valid exhibition kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I think that it's two things. It makes it a lot easier and a lot harder. I give you an example. We have 30 plants around the world, 150,000 employees. So of course there's art on the walls, yeah. And we work with local academies and students, you know. And back then it was like, you know, schlepping these artworks into, you know, an office and say, do you like this, or you rather red, or whatever. And so now, of course, it's all digitalized, and just as if you were to go on Christian Auction House website, you can just see how it would look on your wall, and then they can just go and say, I want this, and we know exactly where these works are. So that's perfect in terms of archiving your own collection. Tough, for example, we have the BMW Art Car series, and I actually appreciated what you said, and that has to do with any sponsorship and the curatorial freedom, you know, the curatorial integrity that nobody should ever take away from you. We feel that creative freedom is as important for our engineers and designers as it is for the artists that we work with. But the BMW art car series, that started with 50 years ago with Alexander Calder, with Rauschenberg, with Liechtenstein and Warhol and Hockney and so forth. It was about white men wielding brushes, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But of course, art has evolved. And we were very happy that Chao Fei, as a great Chinese contemporary artist who actually just arrived in Basel yesterday, she actually took the BMW art car series into the 21st century by involving, back then it was AR and VR and an app and so forth. So really showing what is possible, that the art car is not just what is rushing by on the racetrack, but that you can see it with an app intact and with things around it that are emerging. But that is 2017. And she wants it to stay the exact same way that it did in this, now it's like the Stone Age. And so, and that always is tough to reprogram in a way so it looks like digital art from 10 years ago. But of course we heed her, advice and we appreciate her being involved with this. But the art is not evolving. She wants it to be seen the way it was back then. And those are the challenges that I guess all of you guys are familiar with.
Absolutely. I mean, what you just alluded to, Thomas, is that you have such a variety of artists, variety of ways of expression, if it's in a digital way, in a traditional way, whatever. And this leads to various platforms, various protocols, various ways of technology that are up to date. They may be outdated. They're shifting constantly. And as we see it also in financial markets, you have waves of interest, waves of developments that may lead to technologies being all of a sudden outdated. But somebody has to take care of it. That is, you have a lasting heritage of these pieces of art, so they don't get lost. They don't just disappear because of negligence or not being attentive to the necessity to take care of the transforming it from one stage of technology to the next one and making sure that this is in a safe environment. And that's something that that we believe is underestimated so far, how important it is to keep things alive on a long-term basis. And this technology and this type of art is at most 60 years old now. The first digital expressions were in the 50s, 60s, and still we have probably lost quite some of the arts from the past, and we want to contribute not to do this even further, but rather to keep it and maintain the heritage of the artist.
Joy of preservation. Yeah.
So for us, we are more focusing on new ways of partnership. So we don't collect the work. Most of the activities are based on commissioning new works. So for when you have this digital technology as an environment, you can obviously, more have the chances to distribute it. And we are living in this era where artworks is not anymore the object. It's more about the triggering experiences. So that experience can be distributed through these digital platforms we have, and on your hand as well. So I think that's how we can really go look at closely to have those kind of experience to be more expanded. And also at the same time, since we can access to the art in a very easy way, it is also very important to have the physical immersive spaces. I think that's why I'm sure Ulrich is doing work for making that kind of experiences. So we have these two extreme ways, everywhere, whenever you wanted to access, you can access, but at the same time, you need different types of physical experience to bring those audiences out. I think that's how the companies should look at what is your core value to pursue.
And maybe a question more for you, DooEun and Thomas, because you're sort of in the similar initiative approach within mobility companies, and you have done creative collaborations and projects for many years now, both balancing between, let's say, more physical or analog projects, but also digital. Have you noticed any changes in the way the audience engages between the two forms of art within your projects?
I mean, the audience, as we know from Marcel Duchamp's Creative Act, it's the audience that completes the artwork. Yeah, without the audience, there would not be an artwork. The creative process is shared between the artist and those that are looking at it. I think they're in an age where everybody thinks they're an artist. You see a lot of crap. Yeah. So I mean, that is, and you somehow have to cut through the crap. and I think for me, what always helps is really what, and I say it lately many times, is how Ed Ruscha, once defined bad art and good art, and he said like, bad art is. So he said, bad art is, wow, huh? And good art is, huh? Wow. And I think with the digital art, you see a lot of the former, yeah, and a little less of the latter. So, but I think that the audience, if we talk about the audience, we talk about internally, of course, there's a target group. There is our clients and customers. So the audience would have to somehow relate and like and appreciate. And when I talk about beauty, I don't mean that it has to be something laudatory. It can be something that is questioning something. It can be something controversial. What I think is important when it comes to the role of the company, correct me if I'm wrong, is as much as we love our logo and as much as we love what we do, nothing should interfere with the onlooker's experience of an artwork. There shouldn't be like, ooh, whoa, Hyundai driving through, or BMW, if I may. But you know what I mean? But of course, people should recognize what it is that we're doing and what we're doing and why. But I believe that the experience of any onlooker with an artwork is a very individual one, and we should make sure that there is a room where there's no interference on the side of the company. At the same time, of course, the company being appreciated for making that happen, making these platforms happen.
Yes, even though you said there is no true philanthropy from a company, I would say we call ourselves as a Hyundai Art Lab, and often because we are within the company, we are not separate from the company, people ask what we produce. And we, because we also have like robotics labs and all these labs within the company. And we say, we don't produce, create by ourselves. We create things with museums and partnered organizations and with artists. And as you said, we are kind of being in the position of co-production of those artistic experience, which be very mindful not to interfere with it. I totally agree with you. And of course, our communication department will say, oh, maybe the logo could be a little bit bigger, we all experience those everyday communication, but audience knows very well. We are dealing with these sophisticated, very well-educated audiences who immediately, if you see the logos everywhere while you're experiencing art, it will kill the project. No one will buy your car after experiencing those. So it is very important not to interfere and having seamless experience as an art, not really thinking of who supported this. So in order to avoid internal haptic, our trick is trying to come up with the title of the whole program, because we build the platform with the museums by saying Hyundai Commission at Tate. So without saying it is part of Hyundai partnership, people will slowly recognize the program, and it's more immersive way of kind of being in that position, but not really interfering with the actual experience of the art. I think that is one of the things, and then we also avoid using our product as a part of the art experience. We love BMW. You have done fantastic art car, program. So whenever we ask, we get a lot of sponsorship requests to have the car, and then we ask our, fellow car company who preach has been done that for history, I think you should go to BMW to ask, because it has the legacy and history, and I think it should continue. But for us, it was not, because they have been, doing it properly. I don't think that is what we have to do. Yeah.
Can I just quickly follow up, because I thought it's so interesting what you just said about an educated audience, because I think you also just were referring to audiences. I think that refers both to the sort of brand experience and how people engage with the art, but also we have this notion in the cultural world always saying, oh, we have to cater to new audiences, we have to find the young people, let's do some crazy stuff, let's do an AR filter or something. Audiences are so much more educated. I find in all of my curation and all of my exhibitions, they're not in for the technological ride, they're not in for the thrill. They really want to see amazing artists at the forefront using new technology, because it is our everyday life, and this is what makes it so exciting. But at the same time, always thinking the audience is super dumb, let's just do something with digital. That's not going to solve the problem. And a lot of museums, cultural institutions come to us curators asking, oh, what can we do in terms of digital? It's not about digital, it's about the artists. And you guys are really doing an amazing job meaningfully engage with artists and supporting their artistic practice on a space that is very current and in time, and at the same time at the forefront of what art can be at this times.
Just want to add one small thing, and it is it is most relevant to really to not curate something for a special audience only, because then you miss quite a lot of people that may be interested in art and maybe willing to immerse in a new way of experience. Whereas if you are open and see yourself as a supporter, as an enabler, as a community or an entity that enables people to learn and to grow, that is much more valuable and is much more appreciated also by the audience than if you really push something on this and do something very specific, like they are young, therefore you need digital art. We experience also the other way around, that the young ones are more conservative and want to have traditional art instead of a digital experience, because this is their whole day life.
Speaking about supporters and enablers, Milko, you are head of the tech department, and I was wondering if you can share more about how important it is for artists to work with partners that understand technology and understand their needs within today's sphere, rather than more, let's say, traditional banking institutions.
For us, it was also a learning experience during the last couple of years. But what we saw is that there is a lot of hesitance for people that are active in digital world to talk to established institutions. Being in a bank, mostly because banks are all bad and you can't trust them, and we have to be independent of the financial systems. All these things that led to the development of Bitcoin, for instance. But if you show these people that you're open-minded, that you try to understand what their problem is and where they're coming from, to understand the difference between a Bitcoin and protocol and Polygon, what the advantages are of Solana and Tesla versus other Ethereum, then you have a common ground to talk about, and then people open up to tell them what is actually their story and what are their problems and where can we help. And this is something that is difficult often because on both sides are often prejudices. Or these digital kiddies, they don't have an idea of the real world. On the other side, banks are all old and stubborn and don't want to understand new technologies. And overcoming this is essential for us, and being in a position to try and to understand at least. And even if you in the end we say we can't help you in this respect, but you can go to this partner, or have you talked with them? This is something that they really very much appreciate, and now we're earning the first fruits of that, saying, okay, we like you. 2 years ago, I wasn't ready for that. Now I want to work with you in a more deeper way, and that's very helpful for both sides.
Thank you. Ulrich, you mentioned something about companies often just doing something digital to just attract audiences' attentions on a very basic level. And with the UBS Digital Art Museum opening next year, can you share a little bit more about your vision of it and how it's going to reshape the experience of visiting a museum dedicated to digital art and how your audience is going to interact with it?
Yeah. I mean, as I said earlier, the museum is going to have different outposts, which is super important for us. To be quite frank, I mean, it is a private enterprise. It is not a non-profit or government institution. So we really have to have visitors. We have to make it as interesting as possible. And this is also why we chose TeamLab, because it is a visitor draw, as we know. It's got a huge audience, not so much in Europe. So that's going to be part of our mission to make them more well-known here and to really make this also a tourist attraction, to be quite frank, as the Elbphilharmonie is or as the Sydney Opera is, just to really have audiences engage with that on a level because of interest. On the second level, for me as a curator, obviously, we want to complement this with deeper understanding. It's totally fine, and it is part of TeamLab's mission for people to really just go into these exhibitions, to really engage with the works, to have a very direct artistic experience. The way they work, I'm not quite sure how many of you are familiar from an art historical context, is that they really don't want to give too much context. They don't give any context in the work, in the way the work was technologically shaped. So they want a very direct approach in terms of the visitor. For us as an institution, obviously we want to give guidance, we want to give a deeper understanding of what digital art is. This is why we came up with this digital art hub with a whole set for education programs, panels, talks, keynotes, to really, for those of the audience members who really want to engage with that art form, to want to understand how is it done, how is it coming together, where is it heading, what are the tools, what are the media. This is why we want to give different outposts, and we also are going to have a one of the largest media facades in Germany, also dedicated to digital art. There's going to be a TeamLab, a new TeamLab artwork in the beginning, but hopefully we can also share that with other artists. So really give a platform for artists to showcase their work, but also for audiences to really meaningfully engage and find out what that means for them on a personal level.
We can talk a lot more about this, but unfortunately we only have 5 minutes left. So I'm going to close with a very practical and maybe useful question also for our audience. Maybe like, what is one recommendation you would offer to companies or institutions that are looking to enter the digital art space in a meaningful and maybe sustainable way moving forward?
Maybe I start with, I'm always looking from the artist's perspective. That for me is the core of what we're doing, why we're sitting here. As I said earlier, it's not only about the optics of what's been done, but facilitate and give our artists a chance to work in a very different way. So I think the Hyundai Art Lab is one example of that, to really give means and give opportunities to artists to further their practice and challenge the way we engage with that format. Because quite frankly, digital art is a bitch. It's constantly evolving. We have no idea what the rules are. There are no rules, and that's the interesting thing about it. So we need artists who are able to experiment even more, I feel personally, than in a conventional space, because it is so time consuming and also financially challenging to advance these art forms. So coming back to your question, I think my advice would be, look at the artist, look at what you're interested in as a company and what resonates with your values, because I think a meaningful strategy for communication in that field is only if it does resonate with your values and what you're actually trying to bring out onto the street.
Sofia, you said meaningful, and I want to pick up on that. It's very easy as a premium car manufacturer to add to the bling bling that is already out there. So we always want to add to what could be meaningful, And we talked about the cars. Of course, we do the BMW art cars. That's the one project that has to do with our product, right? That we are also very protective of. But just last week on Sunday, there was a BMW Classics happening on Trafalgar Square. Tens of thousands of people listening to opera for free. I'm off to Berlin, where the same thing is happening on Bebelplatz, 20, 30, 40,000 people listening to a free concert, Romeo and Juliet in this regard. So there's also a longing, of course, for the analog, while the digital is ruling. And I think that what is important to me, and you said that also earlier in a way, that if we look at digital, it's actually about, it's a tool and it's a material at best. Yeah, if we say that on spaceship Earth there's only crew, there's no passengers, as Marshall McLuhan said. If we consider ourselves crew members, that's already a great mindset, and not so much passengers. And as Hito Style said about AI, everybody's talking about artificial intelligence. Why is nobody talking about artificial stupidity? We are, operating on a 20-watt light bulb. That's a light bulb that is 100 times dimmer than this one. That's all we got. And that is, I think, amazing. That's the true miracle. So I would always be mindful of, I know Ryan said that before, and it was amazing what he said in the presentation, 10F1, great what they're doing. But he talked about the books and he said books are ridiculous. I know he didn't mean it that way, but come on. It's like, this is like 1,000-year tradition with humankind on this planet, and nobody's going to take books away. It's not that I'm only looking into the past, but digital, show me what you got, and it's not that much all the time. But when I talk about, and then I'm done, when I talk about the opera, for example, then the digital comes in with the streaming. Then people across the world, as they do, can look into what it is that we do on Trafalgar Square or on Bebelplatz. So it's not only those 20, 30, 40,000 people on the square, but it's hundreds of thousands more, tuning in. And that is where this comes in as a tool, as material that can be used. And as long as we regard it as that and not as an end in itself, we'll have the most beautiful museum opening up in Hamburg soon. Without our support, of course. We had this discussion prior.
Maybe I want to add two things. One is, first, if you engage in art, like in any other venture, do it on the long term. Make bold expectations, what you want to do, where you want to go, what you want to achieve, and start small. But start right away, and don't wait until we have perfected the setup or chosen the perfect artist for that. So that's one. Get action, and then you learn and you grow together with artists and audience. And the second thing is really use it as a means of communication. I mean, art is so important to many people, and it resonates with anybody that is exposed to it, being the employees, the clients, the artists themselves, and together, if you work in a cohesive way and make sure that there is a combination of this communication, and as well an exchange of ideas between the three of them, just to name a few stakeholders. Then you have really a chance to go beyond just a marketing fad. Oh, now this XYZ bank also has a digital art collection, and now that's nice, and you can watch at this internet site, and then it dies. But you really have to be moving on and be reactive and fast to adjust to the resonance that you achieve with the artist, with the community, and so you can really develop a better result for everybody.
I think I do agree. All of you was just described, and I think art. We are talking about art. We are not talking about digital here. And art gives us opportunity to revisit whatever it is conventional, so-called. So for us, it is, our immediate future might be shaped by those destructive technologies, but artists will bring the critical future we are expecting. I've been working in so-called media art since 2000 as a curator. Now I'm at the company to program different types of platforms where we can go. So digital is one of that, and for the future, I don't think digital will be the only tool we can have. It is more of the current complexities of what we are looking into, and it is not just only idea ways of engage with the audiences and the humanity. So I think it is very important to take a risk and revisit again and again what could before it is too late. I think talking about digital art 2025 might be already too late.
Well, it's a good note for everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks.
Oh, wow, that was a really, yeah, it might be too late. But here we are today. I'm really excited. Also want to just thank the whole panel. One of the things that stood out to me were these sort of 3 Vs. I think values align, V, with the corporation or the brand. Visibility, what kind of visibility? So we have values, we have visibility, and then the venture, the investment in, venture into new markets, venture into commissioning work. So something for you guys to all think about. Also, I'm loving this reshape thing too. I'm gonna be using it. Is it a, or is it a, ah? So anyways, this has been a and I appreciate all of you. I also want to shout out Roger as well as Georg for putting on this amazing fair. You have to remember, this is the 2nd edition of Art Meta. I encourage everyone, not right now, but maybe at the lunch break or at one point, Space 25 and down the road as well. We're adjacent to Art Basel, the main fair, but this is the 2nd edition. Not only is it amazing works, but amazing panelists. We have amazing guests here today. So I want to thank all of you guys, and I want to thank all of you again for participation and being here today. So we're going to have a 5-minute break, and then we're going to come back and we're looking at technologies and how impact can happen as well. But thanks to this panel. Let's give them a Thank you.